Hey everybody!
Okay.
Good to see
Can
you
I see you?
Hey
all. Well,
everybody.
I can't see you guys, but you guys can see us.
Yes.
But we're excited to be here tonight, virtually. We would love to have you guys here with us on a Friday night. You guys know this is usually either when we have our rehearsals or when we have empowerment. But tonight we found a way. Thanks to God and all the many brain cells that He gave to His creation, humankind, to come to this point and create technology, got us here today. So we're not quarantining alone, but we're still following the social distancing guidelines. Anywho, so just to get into what we'll be talking about tonight.
Well, before we do that, you want to introduce
Oh
all of
yeah.
us?
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. I just jumped right in. Just jumped right in and forgot if I had anybody else. See, that's what happens when you don't have an audience and stuff. You just start to skip. But anyways, so tonight, if you don't know who I am or my name, I'm Miss Julie. This is Miss Melody. Say hi
Hi,
to the
I'm Miss
people.
Melody.
We also have Miss Juliana. Are you there? Can't hear you.
Oh, hey guys.
Okay, we have Miss Juliana as well via Skype, and we also have Miss Stacy.
Hi
Oh, there's
everyone.
everybody. Hey
Hi,
y'all.
ladies. So Miss Stacy, Miss Juliana, myself, Julie, Melody, and Pastor Kinsley, who is also our technician. We also have Mr. Curvins, but he's not to be seen at this moment in time.
So, is there anybody else on live? We want to see some of you all come up.
Comment.
If you are here, then you
Hey,
can comment.
Charles.
I don't know if I have my comments up, so I gotta double check. Let me look on here
I'm trying to
and
pull my
see.
live video up too so I can see what
Miss
you guys
Linda
are.
Martin is watching us. Hi, Miss
Hi.
Linda. That's the mother of our group. We love you. Well, Miss Stacy is on. We know that.
Oh,
Anybody
hi Miss
else? If you're
Linda.
coming on, just send a thumbs up, or you can type something in and let us know that you're on. Oh, we got some hearts from Miss Linda. Thank you. Aw. Let's see. We have Miss Juliana and Miss Stacy.
Hey. Sorry, I'm trying to
Hey.
multitask you know. I forget sometimes that
I
I'm.
think their index is live or something.
Hey,
All right.
can they hear
So
me?
for those folks that are not able to get on, I know that we have a couple of people in our
So
messages
no,
from our
she doesn't see where you
group
go to
chat.
live.
We can have them. They would have to restart it, like restart their Facebook and go back on the youth page.
Okay, I'm just commenting to you guys. Give me 1 sec. But as I try to get myself together, Miss Melody, will you take it away to
All
welcome
right.
back
So,
everybody?
well, as we're waiting on people to come in, we want to welcome everybody once again. And we want to tell you a little bit about what we're going to be doing tonight. Tonight is really a discussion. We're trying to see where everybody is at. I mean, we've been away from each other for a good amount of we've been away from each other for a good amount of weeks, Let me turn off
Feels
the
like since
TV.
Black History, really.
I did. So, yeah, it's been what?
Feels like since Black History that
Yeah, it has. It feels like since we had our Black History show,
we
we
haven't.
haven't been able to see each other. Which is like what, the end of February? So the whole month of March we were out,
We had
and
a
now
rehearsal.
we're in April. But we wanted to just come on here and have a discussion with you all. Try to talk to you all about what's going on, what your feelings are, what the Bible says about what's going on, so on and so forth. It's an open space for us to talk to each other and ask questions. So as you are on the live, you can go ahead and you know comment in the comment section. And if you have any questions, go ahead and comment and let us know, and we'll answer those questions. I'm looking at, if y'all see me keep on going this way, I'm looking at my phone so I can see if there's any questions or anybody coming in that's saying hey, so we don't miss you, and interact with you as much as we can. So we're trying to fix things as much as we can, so bear with us. But in the meanwhile, we're going to go ahead and let you know a couple of things that we're going to be doing during this discussion or during this live today. So the first thing is we have an Instagram story game that we're going to be loading on the not Facebook, sorry, but our Instagram stories. So you will get to go on Instagram, and if you follow Siloe Youth and Young Adult Ministries, then you'll be able to go into the stories, copy that template that's in there, answer the questions. It's actually called a GIF challenge, the GIF challenge. And what we're doing is having people just comment on what has happened since we've been hit with COVID-19, the coronavirus. So if you go in there and you participate, everyone will get a prize from me when we get to see each other. I'm hoping that's sooner than later. So whenever we see each other, I will ensure that you get something from me, but that's only for the people that participate in the IG story GIF challenge. So make sure you all participate. And once you answer those, we're able to see them, and we'll make sure we screenshot them so we can have the names of people that participated. Now, if you have to tag us in that as well. So make sure you follow Siloe Youth and Young Adult Ministries and tag us in the post that you make on your stories. All right. So I can't say if everybody understand, but yes. Oh, we got Jeffrey. Jeff Lauren is
Hey.
is on the live with us.
Also
How
got
you doing?
Steven.
We also have Steven.
He commented. Yep.
Okay.
Mr. St. Claus.
Did Charles comment as well? I think
Yes,
Charles
he did
commented
earlier.
Said, hey Charles, hey Steven, hey Jeffrey, how y'all doing? I'm happy to see you all on the live. So we're gonna get right into it. So the way that we're gonna do this discussion, we wanted to kind of break the ice with the discussion by already having certain questions, but we don't want to go through all our questions without you all being able to ask your questions. So make sure when you hear something or you have a question to type it in and let us know exactly what question you have so we can answer it, all right? Or answer it to the best of our knowledge. Okay, are my leaders still there with me? Miss Juliana, Miss Stacy, Pastor Kinsley, are you all there with me?
Yep,
All right, cool.
I'm here.
Awesome. So we're gonna go right in, and I'm gonna have, well, I'll choose this because we're still practicing social distancing. So I'll go ahead and choose the first question. But you all, let us know that you all are with us, okay? And the leaders, any of you that want to answer this question, let me know. The floor will be open. But if you do want to answer it, just let us know by saying, I want to respond. Okay?
Or a hand emoji or
Or
something.
yeah. Okay, so first question. Oh wow. Okay, so the first question says, "How has 2020 affected you personally?" I want to ask Julie, since she's my co-host here in this area, but how has 2020 affected you personally? On the list that you're looking at right now, that should be number 8.
How has 2020 affected me personally?
I mean, we're only in
Well,
like the
yeah,
third
we're
month.
we're in the fourth month
Fourth?
at this
Oh, sorry.
point. Yeah, I know. As soon as February passes, it's like
Yeah.
the year just goes by
True.
really fast. But Corona, as we know, Corona has put a little slowdown in that. So, I mean, for me personally, it hasn't really been much of a change because my schedule has basically stayed the same. We're like one of the few people that are still working, whereas most people have been spending time at home. So um, it's kind of been the same. But what I can say in all of this is that, and hopefully this is not like one of the questions on here that I'm responding to, but in this whole pandemic that's been happening, I think it really gives us a perspective and a chance to really connect with God, to seek His face more than we ever had. What this has done is taken away any excuse, anything that we say we're too busy or we have no time or I don't have a chance to do this, or when will I ever be able to do this? Whatever dream, whatever anything that you ever wanted to put into practice, now is the perfect time to do so.
Yeah.
We have more than enough time to rest, but in those 24 hours, we don't take 24 hours to rest. But in that time frame, choose it wisely. Set yourself up for tomorrow, and so your tomorrow could be better. If tomorrow is, if you live to see tomorrow. I know that sounds very kind of like harsh to say, but it's the truth. We, as humans, God never promised us tomorrow. He asked that we worry about the things of today, and not even worry, because He asked us to cast all of our anxieties, all of our cares upon Him, because He cares for us. So I feel like this whole pandemic has really brought us together to see how much God is calling us to be closer to Him, because He cares for us so much.
Yeah, I think that's really good. Any of our other leaders want to give a response on how 2020 has affected them personally?
Um,
Was that Stacy? I heard a from Stacy, I think.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, Jeffrey. Oh, Jeffrey raised his hand.
Yay! Hi, Andy.
Hey,
I would
Andy.
say,
How you doing?
hey Andy, I would say that as far as how that, I guess, affected everyone, me personally, seeing different people, or seeing the world in a different chaotic state, I would say, is what occurred is what occurs the most, because of the simple fact that um, the fellowship or the relationship that you're accustomed to with certain people, that you don't have that kind of vibe anymore. because of you know this effect or this circumstance that have taken places because it's like you know things just dramatically change, but a part of it actually you know the kindness that you used to experience, like now these days people don't hold door for you no more. Like ain't nobody trying to hold the door for you because people are scared to like
That's true.
that decent courtesy is at loss. So to me, it's like it have really changed the character of me,
Hmm.
and it makes people more scared or more afraid. And I'm not saying people don't have a reason to be scared or afraid, because it is something serious. But nonetheless, the human aspect that I feel like we've kind of lack of in our ability because now you see like people can't normally sneeze anymore in public.
Or
Like
cough.
a
Yeah.
simple cough, a simple sneeze,
Yeah.
causing alarm, and it's like it's really I understand, but at the same time it's like it's a natural state because unless you forget, like if this was last year, this is spring, it's allergy season.
Mm-hmm.
So it's normal for people to have these different effects.
Yep, that's
But
my issue.
because of the way that the world view things now, it's like, whoa, it put a barrier in things. So it's a little like nonetheless, it's a bit weird, like seeing different people reaction and different mannerisms that people have now compared to how it used to be before. So yeah, but that's my take on
Before we go to another leader, Andy here, one of our good friends that come out and help us out with the youth whenever he can. Still doing shout out, still doing. But yeah, he says he's come across some really nice people whose spirits are up, like probably willing to share and just do good for people because of what has happened. So I think there could be two different
feel
reactions.
some of that
Right.
nonetheless, but the overall aspect, I would say, is the overall aspect I would say is that loss in general. Not generally speaking, but overall speaking. Like, because some people will still be who they are.
Right.
Because some people don't let circumstances change them. But at the same time, you see less of it than that normally would. Because it was like it wasn't like that, but it's just less than it used to be. But some people, I would think, because of the circumstance, it pushed them to be a little bit more thoughtful, and so, but you still see it. I'm not saying it disappeared completely, but it's just I think that has shifted a bit in that aspect of how we view each other as human, in a sense.
Yeah, I think that's true as well. What about any of our other leaders? Do you all have anything that you wanted to share? I think Jeffrey, Lauren, I don't know if he's still with us watching the live, but if he is, if you could just send us your take on how 2020 has affected you personally. You could go ahead and type it in and we'll read it out whenever. Even if we move on to another question, we'll go ahead and read it out whenever you are done typing it in the comment section.
That
But
also goes for any of our youth that's live with us. If you do have a response to one of these questions, feel free to type it in the comments below and we will read it out loud so that, you know, will share it with everybody else, even though, they're able to see the comments, but just so we can kind of engage in that way as well.
Yeah. So any other leaders where you feel like, there's certain things. I mean, 2020 coming in, there's a lot of things that could affect you, whether it's in a negative way. I mean, most people are looking at, generally, everybody's looking at 2020 like, what's going on? Hence, the name of our discussion today. Hey, 2020.
What's really going on?
What's really going on? What's really good? Like, it's a lot going on. We've witnessed a good majority of anxiety and frustrations, but also areas where we've been just fearful. Like right now, a lot of people are in a state of fear, but then there's some people that have, in the midst of people being fearful, there's people that are experiencing grief right now because they've lost a lot of loved ones, they've lost a lot of people. So I know that we're going to talk more about a lot of these different topics that I've said, but for me personally, 2020, going into there, I feel like if I looked at the general population of 2020 and people going into 2020, they were more optimistic than other years because not only was it a new year, but it was also after a decade. You're going into a new decade. And that was big for people. People were not just reflecting on the past year, but they were reflecting on the past 10 years and what they wanted to do different in the next 10 years. So it was a big thing. I think even for me going into it, it was different for me because this is a brand new decade that we get to go into, and it's not just starting a fresh or making a fresh start for a year, but also for a couple of years to come. And then with having that in mind, a lot of people I know, they were joking and saying that, 2020, when you go to the church, they're going to say the theme for the year is vision because of 2020. So it was like this big deal, like, we're going to see, God is going to give us vision. But you know what, on the flip side,
We've been seeing some things.
we've been seeing some things, right? And that's what I feel like. I feel like, it is vision. It's eyes to see, but not in the way that we thought we would see. And that's a big, it's a big thing when you look at that to see, okay, well, you ask God, and I think it goes back to our prayer life and what we ask God, or our resolutions and our goals that we make for ourselves during the years, or when the year is coming in. We say, Lord, I want to see better, or I want to see whatever, but sometimes He allows it to get a little worse before you see the better. Sometimes you have to go through the trial in order to know where you actually need to be, because a lot of our perspective sometimes is driven off of us having this certain way of thinking, and that certain way of thinking usually clouds, the will of God. We're not looking or seeking for the will of God, but instead we're looking for, okay, I did this right last year, so that must be okay for the year to come. But sometimes not everything that we do right doesn't necessarily mean that it was right with God. You know what I mean? So I think God is showing us how He wants us to see things, even though it may be masked, or it may be clouded with tragedy, or it may be clouded with a lot of pain, and just we can't see for real. And it's crazy because the type of vision that God is giving us is not vision physically or in our perspective, but actually a faith type vision where you don't see. You cannot see what's going on. You cannot understand, why this is happening the way that it's going, because the promises that God has given me don't look like what's in front of me. But that's faith. That's faith. And I think that He's doing something entirely new. He's trying to raise up a generation that's a little bit more stronger than they gave themselves credit for, because a lot of people want to come off looking strong and come off looking a certain way and come off looking like they're in the faith and I believe, or just come off looking like they have this good character. But sometimes we have to be broken and remended or redone in order to really be exactly who God called us to be. And sometimes it takes moments like these for us to realize that. For some people, they probably already started realizing that before this happened. But now it's even more clear, or it's even more confirmation as to what God wants us to do. So, yeah, I think I talked a lot on that. Does anybody else have anything they want to say? I know we have some other leaders on the live screen via Skype. So if any of you have something to say, you could go ahead and say it now, or if not, we could go to the next question. Y'all still here with us, ladies?
Yes.
I'm here. Just
Do you have anything to say, Stacy, Juliana?
I would add that so far, like you said previously, 2020 we came in with like a. They can't hear me. Oh, hello.
Yeah, we
Yes,
could
we can
hear
hear
you.
you.
We can hear you.
Oh, Toxie said she can't hear me. Oh, okay. So sorry, guys. Like you was saying earlier, 2020, it like I even have a vision. Like we made our vision board. We are happy. We are like, yeah, 2020, let's get this. And then this comes to happen, and it's like people are so scared to even walk outside because it's now like, oh, the moment you walk outside, you don't know what you're gonna get. You don't know what you're gonna be like inhaling. So it's become. I've had a lot of anxiety. I usually don't have anxiety at all. So it has made me put more trust in the Lord and know that everything is gonna be okay. Because anytime I need to walk outside or step outside, I just know that the Lord will protect me at all times. So yeah, that's all I have to say. Oh, I freeze myself. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand it completely where you're coming from. It is a scary time. There's a lot of things that are happening, but we're gonna go into some things that can get us to shift our perspective a little bit as far as the times and what's going
Hmm?
on. Because positivity is important, and also, what the Word of God says, what we believe is important as well. And sticking to that can help us find some peace that other people may not know where to get from, and we should be those peacemakers, helping people find peace with what's going on during this time. So we'll talk a little bit about it, but let's go on to the next question. If any of you don't have a response, I don't want to miss anybody. So Stacy, you're good.
yeah, I'm good. Just technical difficulties, but I'm good. It's okay. Keep going.
Okay, well, just let us know if you have anything that you would want to say in the other questions that we have. Okay.
Yes.
All
Yes.
right,
Okay.
awesome. Okay, so we're gonna go to the next one. I just chose how can we use these 2020 experiences to be better versions of ourselves. Julie kind of tapped into this week. I want before Julie kicks it off, because I want you to close this out with your response. So if anybody else has a response to this question, how can we use these 2020 experiences to be better versions of ourselves? We can go ahead and say it. So what are some ways that we can be better from the things that we've already experienced in this year? Anybody? Any of the leaders? If not, I'll just pass it on to Julie, because I don't want to stay in the.
Okay, what question?
Right. So that one on your list would be
Number six.
number
How
6.
can we
Yeah.
use these 2020 experiences to to be a better version of ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I mean, even though we're only at a couple of days into the fourth month of the year, we have experienced what feels like a whole year worth of things, events, traumas, happiness, whatever you want to call it, ups and downs, highs and lows. There have been a lot of that in the first quarter of this year, if you will. And even though we still have, a couple of months left throughout the year, what we can learn to better ourselves, again, just to touch on what I stated with the first question, is using this time that we have innately been given um, wisely, just kind of like really just honing in on the extra time that we've been given, if it's extra for some of you, but the time that we've been given to do what we've always wanted to do but have either put off because of lack of time, or because we have so much going on in our busy schedule, whether it was school, work, whatever it may have been, that kind of like took up that time that we could have been using to channel or bring to life the very dreams that we have always had but never spoken into existence or worked on to birth and give life to. Now is that time to really just craft that and perfect it and give it to the world, because someone needs that from you. Someone is waiting on that from you in order to kickstart what they need to do.
Amen.
Sometimes it takes you tapping into what God has already called you to do, regardless of your fear, regardless of however your sentiments currently are when you think of your dream. If it excites you, if it is something that you can't stop thinking about when you wake up or when you go to sleep, then it's time that you put some work towards making that thing a reality. We can talk about countless people in the Bible that could have put off certain dreams, and had they done that, things would have been so much different for some people. For example, if you look at Moses, if he had not taken the time or went and acknowledged God when he sought him, and when God called him to do his will, there wouldn't really be a Joshua after Moses. Now, Joshua would have probably still had the calling on his life, but the road that it took to get there would have been different, because it would have probably came from someone else. We all know that, God doesn't have to use us per se, but he's choosing to do so. And if you are chosen by God to do something, then take pride in that and make it work. Don't just sit there and just think, I can't do it, I can't whatever. If it is in you, if you are dreaming of it, then it is for you to do.
Yeah.
Now, whether you need to figure out what those resources are or how you're going to start off by doing it, if you don't know where to start praying about it. Ask God to give you clarity about those things. You'll start to see he'll piece together the very tools that he already put in front of you, and you're going to see everything clearly on how to start and how to get it going. It's not about you knowing how it's going to end, because if you trust God to take you there, you will get there no problem. What he's concerned with you is that you get started so that he can take you to the end. Sometimes some of the things that we're called to do, we don't even get to see the ending of it. Back to Moses.
Yeah.
Even though God had called him to do something so great, to take the Israelites out of Egypt, he wasn't there to fully see the dream through, because that's not what God had planned for him in particular. But the people of Israel, the children of Israel, still made it to the promised land, even though Moses was not there. So there's sometimes God can birth something in you, as great as it is. Sometimes it's not for you to see it to the end.
Right.
If we want to fast forward to people of that are outside of biblical, outside of the biblical context, you can look at people like Dr. King, like Marcus Garvey, like all of our heroes that we know now, that have John Lewis, who recently passed. So these people are all people who had done something in history to see a change, who fought for a change, but did not get to see the way things have changed and have allowed people to come together and humanity to progress in a way where we're not separated like we once were, even though we still have our challenges, but it's not what it was when they were alive. But if had they not done what they were called to do, where would we be now? So it's not about worrying about, oh, there's too much people that do this already. If it is in you, you can birth it. If it is in you, God is calling on you to do that very thing. Don't look at the person to the right or to the left of you. Don't look at the person before you, and certainly do not look behind you. Keep your eyes focused on God and what He has for you, and become a better version of you based on what He called you to be.
I think Pastor Kinsley has some. It looks like he got something he want to say. So I'm gonna open the floor. If you didn't, I'm sorry. I'll just go ahead.
I was just listening.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I was just listening. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I think what you said was just completely just everything was good. If it's birthed in you, if that's what God placed in you, it's true. You're meant to do it. Regardless of anything that is going on, those promises that God made to you are true, regardless of anything. You talked about Moses, but I always go back to Abraham and his son Isaac, and how he was the promised child. He was given to Abraham by God for him to, be the person that leads them to wherever they need to go. You know what I mean? But God really had to test his faith. Yeah. Even in the midst of it all, he asked Abraham to sacrifice Isaac. And he had to grab everything, take his son up to the mountain, go up there, wrap him, tie him down, knife up in the air, ready to go into this child. But it was his promised child. His son is not supposed to die at this time. I don't understand why God is asking me to do this. Yes. But it was a testing of his faith. And a lot of times we're going to go into circumstances like what Abraham went through, not exactly like that, but metaphorically, or what we're going through with what's going on right now, where you might get to a point where you feel as if, oh my goodness, this is, am I really going, some people might get sick and say, well, is it my last days? But there are certain promises or certain things that God has said that have not lived out into your life yet. You haven't seen them happen. And using that faith to say, well, God, just like Abraham, I don't know what he was thinking at that moment. I'm going to draw this knife into my son. I'm going to put it into my son. But you're God, so maybe you're going to, revive him again or do something, because I believe in you so much that what you promised me and you gave me, if you told me to take it away or to give it back to you, I know that even in that, that's still part of the promise. That's still part of what you have called me to do and what you have given me. So looking at all these things, there's so much reassurance in stories like that, and not stories, but in biblical truth like that, where you look at that and say, well, God, I don't know what's going on. How am I going to pay my rent? How am I going to do whatever? God calls you to give tithes, but your tithes, if you plus that with the amount that you got, maybe that can help you pay your rent, but you're still called to do that. And you choose to, and God is still calling you to give, or there's a certain offering that, God has called you to give in order for you to receive something, but you don't have anything else. If you give this money, you're going to be out on the street. But is your faith bigger than that money that's in your hand? Or is that money more controlling over your life? So that's what we need to look like. That's a perspective that I believe we need to walk in with when we look at situations like this during 2020, where there's so much going on. There's just so much going on. We got hit first. I don't know. God was preparing us for COVID-19, for coronavirus. Everybody was just shook with the whole Kobe thing. oh my gosh, he's so young. And not only Kobe, his daughter, not only his daughter, but everybody else that was on the plane with him, the pilot, those families that was on there, the assistants that were on there, everybody passed. And they were just doing something regular, routine, every day, take a helicopter from home to practice. But you look at that and it was like it was preparing people. And then it was almost like you would think, okay, dang, all right, God, I understand, life is short, so I should take my life seriously. But then now you have something where nobody can control. Everybody's being affected by it in some kind of way. If you don't got it, somebody got it. If that person has it, they're probably, in a bad condition. If they're not in a bad condition, they probably already passed away. Like, it's just so much. And I know that, a lot of people are saying, how has it affected you personally? Some people may not have people that they, that's been affected personally, but there are some others as well that have friends or co-workers that are going through a time right now where it's like, oh my gosh, what if it was my family? What if it was the people around me? Who's next? Because nobody can actually give us an actual response as to when this is going to end. Only God can say that. Only God can tell us, okay, well, this is what this looks like at the end. And sometimes he won't even tell us. Sometimes what he's going to do is he's going to say, can you walk by faith and not by sight? Can you look at all these things that are going on around you and say, even though these things might happen, I'm still going to stand on the promises of God. I'm still going to stand on the things that God has called me to do. I'm still going to pursue things in faith as if life is still going on. I'm not going to stop and wait until things pass by. A lot of people that are in quarantine right now, they're sitting in their houses and they're just like, okay, well, I'm just, whenever this passed by, my job told me to stay home. I'm just going to work from home, but I don't see the point. I'm just going to work. Like, everything is it's turned into a negative, but we prepare anyway. As Christians, that's what we need to look at. And I was listening to T.D. Jakes the other day, and he pointed out 5 things in his message that on how to maintain productive thinking. And I think a lot of us too, we lost our focus. A lot of us were not focused enough for us to be able to, do the things that we're called to do. And what I mean by focus, you may be focused, but you may not be focused on what's willed over your life, what God has called you to do. So I was listening to this and it really hit me. So I'm not going to look at it as, oh, this is just for y'all. No, this is something that God is working in me as well, where a lot of times our focus are wrongly placed. So as we look at this, as we look at all these things that we're doing and all this time that we have, some people are still working. Me and my sister, we work for local government. So we're still working. But there is still time. There's a rotation schedule. Weekends, we're not going out like we used to. We're not doing all the things all the activities that we were in. So there is still downtime for us. Even though we're busy, we're not that busy. And looking at that, what is our thinking? How are we processing it? Because every day we're in these routines. We have so many different routines. We have a list of things that we have to do. We have what's priority and what's medium priority and what's not really priority, but if I get to it, I get to it type things. Now it's like there's a lot of things on that priority list or that list in general that we're not, able to do. But with that, God is giving us time to think. God is giving us time to reflect. And in our reflecting, even our reflecting should be purposeful, right? So I'm going to go into the 5 things, but before we do that, I want to ask if anybody else has any questions as far as, well, not questions, but any responses. You can go ahead and put it in the comments below. I also have a watch party on my Facebook page. So any of you all that are on my watch party, you all can go ahead and send a comment and I'll read it off as well. And we'll try to prepare that for you all, like prepare a response as best as we know how. But the 5 things, we're going to go into that. But before we do that, we want to give people time to actually put something on the screen in the comment box, or if we have anybody on Skype, we have some of our leaders that are on Skype. They can go ahead and respond to anything before we close out this question and go to the next. Anybody?
Juju? Juju?
Yes.
You have
Yes.
something?
A question?
Yeah, a question or comment?
A comment? I just wanted to see. I just wanted to ask everyone, like, how are they currently feeling in regards of this quarantine? Because I know it's like everyone. Like, I hate going to school. Oh, I hate going to work. But now, if I want to school, I want to go to work. Like even Tatiana.
Well, it's more so.
Oh, you want to speak, Tati?
I just had
I'm
a.
here. Sorry, guys. I just slipped my sister in.
Hi,
Hi,
Tati.
Tati. Say hi.
Hey,
It's more so. It's like I
Tati.
want to
Tati,
go outside. It's
reach.
not want to go. No, no, but it's that I want to be able to do fun things and live my life.
Commentary. You live with me. Anyone
Hey,
else
Tati.
wants to put in a comment like how Miss Melody said hi.
If she has a question, she could go ahead and ask it,
Tati, you have a question?
or something she wants to say.
Oh wait, how's everything?
Speak your mind, Tati.
Tatiana asked how's everyone doing. I guess
Nothing? No? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do the 5 things that you can do to maintain productive thinking. So, like I said, I was listening to Pastor T.D. Jakes or Bishop, sorry, Bishop T.D. Jakes, and he made some good points. He always does, but I took notes on these 5 things that you all can do, because I didn't want to just come here and discuss, but I also wanted to be able to share some tools with you all. And then we'll go to the next question. But the first one was, don't waste time on whose fault it is in the crisis. Blame doesn't fix anything. So when we look at this crisis, or it may not just be our current crisis right now, but any crisis that you are undergoing in your life, you're going on with, or that you're saying, okay, well, because of this, I could not carry out this thing, or because of this, I could not accomplish this goal. Those things, we should not be placing blame on people or even that actual crisis. But we should look for a way around it and say, hey, you know what? Instead of me saying, oh, okay, this was wrong because of this, I could change my perspective, or ask God to give me a better perspective, to turn around and look at my situation and look for a better solution or another solution. Or it may be something that's completely different, but we're not taking the time to hear God out in order to get to that place.
And just to kind of add to that point, though, since we're still kind of on the question of how can you be a better version of you in this 2020, it all begins with your thought process, your mind. If you do not change the way that you think, if you're used to thinking of yourself in a negative manner, or if you're used to just kind of like doubting yourself all the time, these are the type of thought processes that will make it even more difficult for you to reach your goal in becoming the better version of you.
Yeah.
Because remember, the person that you are battling the most, we're not just fighting against flesh and blood, but we're also fighting against our mind. One of the things that the Bible talks about often, especially in the New Testament, in Romans and in John and in Mark, it says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Yeah.
So it is pivotal that when we choose to change, when we choose to be different, when we choose to even be Christ like, it starts with the renewing of our mind and our mentality. And it is then that we become a new creation.
Yeah, for sure. The second part, it goes into the second part. If you find yourself spinning your wheels mentally, give your mind a break. Come back to it after some rest. And I would even add meditation and devotion to God, asking God for clarity. We shouldn't be thinking about things that we need to do in our life without including God in it. That's a big deal. You know what I mean? If we say that we follow Christ or we're Christians, we should be able to go to the source and say, Lord, you, the author and finisher of my faith, what's going on? How do I work through this? Change my perspective, change my mind, renew my mind so that I'm able to really go about this the way that you've called me to go about it. It's all about your calling. It's all about what God has willed for you to do in your life. So with that, it says, come back to it after some rest. Rest restores the mind to restoration, which is very true. A lot of times it's because we're not resting that we can't find any type of restoration, because we're not taking the time to sit back and think. I feel like right now we're forced to sit back and think, but because we originally don't do that, we find ourselves in this, sometimes we're like, is it a blank space? Or it may not even be a blank space, it's a clouded space, because everything you put on the back burner or everything you put in the back of your mind now is coming to the forefront of your mind and saying, well, I'm here now, you got to deal with me, you have nothing else to do, you done watched all the Netflix you could, you done did all the TikTok videos you can, you done, did all the challenges and all the lives, and you joined in and listened to everybody, but you still have not taken the time to resolve some of the things that are going on. So just like this says, the point two of the 5 things, it says to rest restores the mind to restoration. Number 3, irrigate your mind by talking to people who can share fresh perspective. We got more than enough time right now to look up those mentors, to look at those people that we need, to read those books, to find people that have a different perspective on certain things. It's not always what we think is the best thing. But sometimes there are people that have also been led by God to pour into your life, people that have wisdom. Continuing with point 3, do not argue with wise counsel and trying to exonerate yourself or to justify things in your thinking. So make sure that you are listening to what people are saying and allow it to really seep in. This is the time right now. Sometimes we have so much things that were going on. Me and Julie, we're adults, but we constantly are around our parents. And being around our parents, they have a lot to say about your life and what's going on and how you fit, but sometimes it's better to listen and wait to speak when they say certain things, because there are certain things that they say, it's not off the edge, okay? It's not because they old school. They know. And if we really take heed to what they're saying and we take the time to sit down, meditate on what they're saying, we can look at our lives and say, well, you know what? I know their tone probably wasn't right when they came to me about it, but it doesn't mean that they were necessarily wrong. Not just parents, but let's talk about other people that are in our lives that are not just older than us, but wiser than us. Somebody can be younger than you and wiser than you. I have moments with my sister all the time. Well, as y'all hear her speak, you can, hear the way that she is. She's not just, she's a thinker. She has a lot to say and a lot to that she contemplates on. But it always goes back to God, and she has so much wisdom that she carries with her. So I'm not looking down at her as her older sister to say, hey, just because I'm older, girl, I don't got nothing to hear from you. She has a lot of wisdom, so I should not shut that out because of any age or any kind of other perspective that's apart from mine. Number 4, train your mind You said thank you. Oh, you're welcome. Train your mind to skim over the problem and focus on being solution oriented. I said this many times before. Don't just look at it as I'm stuck. I'm blocked up. This thing has always been in my head. It's been in my head for the past couple of years. Stop counting years, stop counting dates, stop counting the time. Just keep moving forward. One thing doesn't work, there's another thing that you can do. Great inventors, they failed many times until they created what they were willed by God to create. And it was amazing. But they failed many times. There were many solutions that they had to filter through before they got to the finished product. So remember that. Number 5, this is the last one. Some things are beyond your control. COVID-19 is beyond your control. All these other things that are going on, what people are saying, the economy right now is beyond your control. You want to control it in some kind of way. You probably can if you are solution oriented and you choose to do something other than what you used to always do. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're a go-getter, you're going to find a way, especially if you got God behind you, because he's going to give you ways to get through that. Mm-hmm.
But I think that also speaks to, because it goes back to, at some point in everyone's life, this is not something that is foreign or something that happens to just us as individuals, but as everyone, every human being is going to go through trials and tribulations that causes them to be in a moment in time where things are out of their control.
Yeah.
And so that's something that's inevitable. Things being out of your control is inevitable, which is why God constantly says, the things that you worry about, the things that make you anxious, the things that you care about, cast them on me because I care for you. I created this thing, is what God is saying to you. And if you give this thing to me, you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to, you can't pray to me and worry about the very thing that troubles you at the same time. Your prayer is a direct connection, is a direct request to God to take on whatever it is that you are burdened with. So, I mean, he never gives you a load that's too much for you to carry. But you got to know when that load is getting heavy that it's okay to ask your Father for help. So it's one of those things that I know for myself, I have a tough time sometimes getting through. But I'm constantly reminded even when I'm in my own, when I'm in my head a lot, I get reminded by God to just cast everything that I'm going through on him, because he's able to help me bear it all so that I can make it to the next level that I'm supposed to get to, despite what I think it may look, what I think it should look like. He shows me what it actually is, and oftentimes when God is involved, it's way better than what I ever could dream or what you could ever dream of the thing to be. So when things are out of our control, we shouldn't be fearful, as we often are, but we should really just kind of be excited in a way when we allow God to do what he does best, and that is giving the best to us and creating the space for us to be at our best.
Exactly, that's amazing. Do we have any of our leaders? Because me and Julie we'll take the whole discussion. We don't want to do that. So if any of our leaders have anything that they would like to say as well, you all can go ahead and chime in now. No bad.
I think
Okay.
they're having some technical difficulties.
Okay, so we have some technical difficulties, but we're gonna move forward.
I think they're listening, but they may have their screen off temporarily, but I'm sure they could hear everything. But I would just piggyback off everything you guys just said. That sometimes even in the what I found it to be, even in the scariest time, that's where you're able see and have um, I would say sometime um, a deeper perspective of who God is, and like in the midst of all situation, we always turn back to God, and like even over this time frame, listening and reading different perspective and different circumstances of different individuals and group of people that wasn't believers, but because of this incident or this circumstance, it have caused them um, to realize there has to be a God, or to realize the essence of God, because of everything that they've experienced. Because sometimes trouble and circumstances help us to see and come into a deeper meaning, or come to the realization that God is real and God does exist. So yeah, it's things in life that occur. It's situations, circumstances that occur in life. Sometimes we can't change the things that have happened, but we can learn and we can grow from them. And so, because one thing that I've learned, that in everything that we go through life, there's always something you can take from it, good or bad. Like the worst situation, unfortunately, I wouldn't wish that for anyone. But even in the midst of the worst situation or circumstance that we can deal with, at the end of it all, or in the midst of it all, we can still see a lesson. We can still see something that we can grab, or that we can take away from the situation that have occurred. That I personally always truly believe that God speaks in every moment. That even in the moments we think God is silent, even His silence is Him speaking. Because there's always something to take out of it. Like you read in the Bible, every situation, in the story of Job, in the story of Esther, in the story of Noah, in the story of Abraham, every circumstance that have occurred, that there's always a lesson, there's always a plan. And I would say this, that in the midst of everything, we have to realize, we have to know that it's not the end. Though it may not be, I would say I'm not saying we're not at the final days per se, but it's not. This is not the end of us. There's always, because I was having a conversation today, and I was saying that I can only imagine how people felt during the time of the original Great Depression. And I'm sure people thought at that time, oh man, this must be it. There's no life after this. I'm sure
That's
they
true.
thought, because it's reasonable, it's logical. They have every right to. But when we look at it, we're the future that they was hoping for. We've come from that time. And so, and I truly feel that there is an aftermath. There is a rainbow at the end of this tunnel. There is something to hope for, and there is something to realize, and that in the midst of everything, we realize, okay, this is the situation that we as the human race are facing, but this is not the end of mankind, but this is just a time in the presence, in the circumstance of mankind, but this doesn't eliminate us all in general. Yes, it's unfortunate, and none of us would ever would think or wish for this to happen. But nonetheless, this is where we at, and we have to look into it, but also look towards after this, and
Yeah.
not just focus in the moment itself. That we have a plan for after this, because at the same time you think about, we spend all this time, we're not doing anything, but while we have the time, what are we doing with this time? Because there is another day, there is a tomorrow, there is, a next day. Even though we, personally, every individual is not guaranteed tomorrow, but tomorrow is guaranteed. It's just not guaranteed to you. And so, and that's what I think, we should take away, and we should learn, and we should grow, and maximize our time, and use our time wisely, because we have to think, there's gonna be a tomorrow. So if we are in this tomorrow, what are we doing with today to prepare for that tomorrow?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Any other leaders wanting to share something?
I, I agree with Pastor Hensley. I also feel like this is experience that is supposed to shake us, but is not supposed to break us down. So it's like a wall. You know, the wall earthquake shakes, but it's not supposed to just break us down. We are supposed to actually, after this, I hope that everyone grows stronger and has a stronger faith. That's what I plan on doing for myself, and I encourage others to do the same. Because it's not when time of trouble, we're like, oh my gosh, Lord, what you do? It's when time of trouble and when we have even the good times, we always have to look upon the Lord and just hope, like just know that He has our back. Because during this time, it's like I never experienced this in my lifetime. So at least I hope that I'm able to live on and tell people, oh, this is what I experienced in my lifetime, and this is why I've grown stronger with my Lord. Because it's like it was like it's like almost like a near death experience with this whole COVID situation. Even though people say, "Oh, you're young, you don't have to know, you have to worry." So I think it's an opportunity for everyone to just grow stronger and grow a stronger bond. So yeah, that's what I have to say.
Yeah, I can completely understand that. Getting news like this, especially back to back to back, I mean, us being just freshly stepping into the fourth month of the year, and for this to be happening, this is not even like the middle, this is not the 6th month, this is not towards the end, so it's very different to feel some of the things that were happening. I think a lot of times too, we get to a place, and please don't get me wrong or feel like I'm disrespectful when I say this, but we're too complacent. Like, we're very comfortable with a lot of things. This is the time where everybody's on social media. They're always, doing whatever. Granted, some people, they're just trying to up their brand. But a majority of people are doing things that, they want to work in things that are fun, where they don't feel like it's work. Or that are, it's not going to be, that hard for me to do this. It's easy money. So they want to do that. We talk about multiple streams of income, and people want to do like little things that are going to bring them to a whole bunch of money at a quick turnaround time. But things take time. Things take time. We have a larger amount of entrepreneurs now than we've ever had. And I think that during this time, there are some people, especially young people, very young people, in their 20s, where they are obtaining certain things like homes and cars and different things like that, at capitalizing on so many things. But we're able to do so much at young ages. But I feel like this is almost like this reality check. Like, don't forget that, yes, you got all this going on, and yeah, you may think you see your future, but you're not the author of your life. Like, there could be so much more, but there could be just what you already experienced. And we have to be ready at all times to know exactly what we're doing, where we're going, as far as what what God says, what God says for our life. So it's very important for us to get into that. I'm going to go ahead and read the next question. I think we can answer this really simple. Let's try. Let's try to answer this real simple because me and Julie, boy, I'm sorry, y'all. Okay, so what was your first reaction to the chaos we have experienced? I'm gonna go first so I can finish real quick. I think my first reaction when I heard everything was going on, I'm not gonna lie to you, like I started thinking about, okay, well, all right, there's a virus. But then I think my biggest issue with the virus was how our those that are put in charge are going about it. So that was my first reaction. What are we doing to ensure that we're going to be safe and we're going to get stuff together and we're going to take care of people and, try to rapidly get this thing away from us? But at the end of the day, ultimately, as I start thinking and we start preparing for a discussion like this, even if people were 100% prepared, if it had to happen, it will happen. If God wills it to happen, that's what's going to happen. Like the Bible said, God does not allow anything to happen without His permission. So somewhere along the line, God knew it was going to happen, and He knew, what the response would need to be, or what we would have to do in order to get a response from Him or see a change in our situation. So that's where I was at. What about you, Julie?
When I first heard about the virus, it was more so like, okay, what is it? What do we need to do? What are the symptoms of this? How bad is it? And my emergency preparedness hat coming on.
Yeah.
I was like, how bad? What do we need to prep? What do we need? Like, what are the list of items? Do we have these things at the house? Making sure that everyone at the house had it, even at the point when everyone was just saying, oh, it's not that serious. It's just like the flu. And yeah, if it were just like the flu, then it would just be the flu. But
Right.
that's not what it was. We know that it's more serious, and unfortunately, the proper preparations that could have been made was not. So this is where we are. But just like any epidemic or pandemic that has happened prior to, we just have to prepare and trust in God. Whatever happens, I mean, that it is what it is, but even in that, to God be the glory, because again, tomorrow is not promised to us. And whether it is this virus, God forbid, that is the cause of us not being here tomorrow, or whether it is an accident or something that has nothing to do with this virus at all, the key is to be prepared and to be ready when that time comes, whenever it may be. But to constantly be ready with, to really just be ready for what God is ultimately always called us to be ready for, and that's to enter His rest in His glory. But yeah, the first time I heard about it, it was like I had my kind of like my eyes turn, like, I don't know. We'll have to watch and see how this plays out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other leaders want to chime in real quick? What your initial reaction was?
My initial reaction of hearing the COVID-19, at first it was like, I don't. Well, let me not say this on Facebook Live, but I don't. People were undermining it, and I was like listening to a YouTuber, and she was like, "This is going to be bigger than what they're saying," and it's crazy because it's literally like what she said is literally what's happening. At the time, at first I was like, "Oh, she's just another person trying to predict stuff," but I did take certain precautions, and I try to like after first hearing it, always check the news on what's going on, and I'm not that surprised at what's going on right now. But when my first initial reaction actually sort of prepared me to like I don't know to sort of not feel too much anxiety because the current anxiety I feel now is just because it's so close to home, but it's also prepared me to say like, hey, this could hit anywhere and like harm anyone. So yeah.
Okay.
So everybody. All right, this is the last question.
Stacy
Um,
had something.
sorry, Stacy, go ahead.
Did you have something, Stace?
I don't know if she could hear us.
Okay, well, for me, I originally thought this was like the flu. And I also had a cold as like right before the quarantine started. So I was already stuck at home. And I'm an introvert. So I didn't really think much about staying home, but now the severity of it was like over 1 million cases, and most of them is here in America. And there's so many countries where it's like there's not even enough proper health care, even here in America. It's just sad, and I just wish it was dealt with better. So yeah.
Okay, well, those were our initial reactions.
Yeah, I will add this though, because for me, like Stacy, um, very much so introverted. So even though I was giving the side eye to this whole thing, I was also very happy as an introvert to be social distancing. I was like, oh God, this is what I do anyway. If I can't, and so I mean, this ain't nothing new. Welcome to my world. So, but apart from that, but yeah, we know it's a serious situation, and a lot of lives have been lost. And even earlier today, around noon, they already said the death toll in New York was over 500 in a 24-hour span from this thing. And and there's just so much more lives that are being lost, which is very tragic because at the end of all of this, there's going to be a lot of children without parents, parents without possibly a child, those that have passed at the young ages of 25 in their 30s, 70. Even though at the beginning there was so many theories. First it was, black folks can't get it. We saw that was a lie. They said it was only older people that were affected if they were 60 and older. We know that it is a lie as well. Continue to trust in God to all of really.